Oh my god, they're doing the Ligma stuff again.
So I think we're live, right?
Hey
We
everyone, we're
are.
live.
Hello.
Okay. I'm still showing as waiting for Amusement Insiders on YouTube.
I I restarted it or refreshed.
I didn't
If you
need
guys
to.
aren't getting it, just go ahead and refresh.
That's so weird.
Yep, we're live.
Okay,
Mm.
perfect. Yes, it shows live on Google Hangouts, but
Get
there we
on.
go. Hey guys. Okay, so
What's up?
just to start it off, this stream is not going to be our typical weekly update stream. This is actually our Cedar Fair 2019 predictions. We're going to do them as a team. That way you get more than just one person, one dude, or one girl behind a camera going, yeah, I think this park's getting this. It's a discussion. And I think that's better. I think you'll get a better idea of what, potentially is going on when you have more people discussing it. So hopefully you guys like this kind of concept. Also, just wanted to say this is it's either the last or second last time we'll be using Google Hangouts. We are in the process of building a paid service, using a paid service to host our live streams now. So it'll be higher quality. Our Patreons will be able to connect with us and participate live on the screen. So we have some dude building us a really cool concept for that to incorporate more of you guys into our streams and be more participation. So hopefully you guys like that too. So let's get right into it. So these aren't really ranked in any order, so don't get triggered. We're just gonna go like biggest to smallest, and by biggest to smallest, I mean multiple factors. So don't get too triggered. But let's start off. So you have Cedar Point, and Cedar Point just got Steel Vengeance. There's a lot of rumors going around about Cedar Point. Will Wicket Twister be removed to make way for the open beach concept? Is it going to go to CGA or another smaller park? And I actually strongly disagree with the whole Wicket Twister removal. And the reason I disagree with this is the Coaster Wars, despite what some may think, is starting again. Magic Mountain and Cedar Point are definitely going head to head in some form of building these awesome, massive coasters. And I just can't see them removing a coaster. On top of that, Canada's Wonderland and Cedar Point are tied for coasters. And if they remove a coaster without replacing it, they're actually allowing a park like Wonderland to step in front, and that would never happen. That's part one. Part two is the kind of attraction I see coming to Cedar Point is I see a sky roller, or a family expansion, or a dark ride. Those are the three rides that I think we could potentially see at Cedar Point. To be honest, any one of these could be a great concept for the park. And I would be excited for any one of them. The park desperately needs a family expansion, in my opinion, but I think a dark ride would do wonders for the park, and I also think a sky roller would be really popular. How about you guys? What do you guys think?
I agree with the family expansion.
Well, I'll jump in. I personally think that we've seen a lot of ride expansions at Cedar Point for obvious reasons. It's, the favorite park of the chain in a lot of ways. But I know we also saw Sandcastle Suites come down, so I think it's about time that they focused on either a new hotel or maybe a show building to replace what's been removed.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have anything to say? Like, what do you think is coming to Cedar Point if it's different from what I said?
So obviously we're getting the removal of Witch's Wheel, which is their Enterprise, Gen 1 Enterprise. I agree with the family area expansion, but we can also see something other than a sky roller. We could be seeing a Gen 2 Enterprise in that spot. So basically like replacing Witch's Wheel. And if they end up actually going along with a kids area expansion, maybe we could be seeing a kid coaster there. Maybe something small like flying a serial chase or Kitty Hawk sort of thing. But yeah, that's what I think is going to come. But a sky roller is not out of the question yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could also get something on the lines of Zamperla Air Race, Those look like a pretty thrilling ride and seem to be decently reliable. The Gen 2 Enterprise thing is pretty cool, though, too.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it could go any way for Cedar Point. Cedar Point's the biggest park, but they just came off of a massive year. So we know it's going to be somewhat smaller. But Cedar Point's under like a massive expansion plan, despite, enthusiasts hoping that Cedar Point isn't going to get anything big in the coming years. It's actually going to be quite the opposite. They just built a massive hotel, and they have to match, the expansion of their hotels and the property they're buying off property with investments. So I wouldn't put it past them to even get 2 of these on the list and still get a big roller coaster in 2020, just based off of the dollar for dollar that they have to match in terms of investment, and they need people to come to those hotels and stay there. Does anyone else have anything to say about like other things like the beachfront, what they could potentially see? I said something about Wicked Twister not being removed, but do you think it could be moved elsewhere in the park?
I think it could possibly be I think if they wanted to use as much land as possible, I think they could possibly pull the disaster transport and remove it for to work on their boardwalk or add a boardwalk expansion too in 2019. Just because remember they said for their 150th anniversary they'd be doing 2 things. So I think it's possible that they could maybe remove Wicked Twister to help work with their boardwalk expansion.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that it's possible. I think it would have to be financially really worthwhile because that is not a cheap feat to move a ride like that. So it would have to be for some kind of gigantic expansion or really huge new attraction.
For sure.
I don't think the removal of Wicked Twister is fully out the question yet. I don't think it'll happen this year during the 2018 off season. And I also don't think it'll happen in 2019. But maybe in the 2019 off season, maybe we can, see how, because Witch's Wheel was removed because of the attendance. Maybe depending on Wicked Twister or how much money they're using to maintain that, then we can see from there. But for now, I just don't see them removing it.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else have anything to add on to Cedar Point for 2019? Carowinds. So this is one of 2 parks that is the biggest announcement in Carowinds history. And to be honest, I feel like everyone was kind of shook by the Carowinds one. The Canada's Wonderland one, very predictable in my opinion. The Carowinds one, not so predictable. So I was sitting here well, it's not just going to be the Mac multi-launch because of Fury. That year, No, that was 2012. But so my prediction, so this is an expansion park. So Carowinds, I predict, is probably going to get a Mac multi-launch. And by probably, I mean they're getting a Mac multi-launch. With that, they're going to get a new themed area. That's pretty evident in terms of the construction that we're seeing around the area and teasing and the theming. If it's going to be a lot larger than Fury's investment, I'm predicting a family flat ride and a restaurant to go along with it. Now, I predict that some of you will probably have differing points of view. So what do you guys think? What's coming to Carowinds in 2019?
I think you hit it on the dot there with everything, especially with the family flats and the restaurant. I think they're definitely going to want to make an immersive experience in 2019 at Carowinds, and everything you put on there essentially does that. So, I think you hit that right on the dot, and I completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I would agree as well. I think it's going to be a big overall sort of revival and retheme of the park. And, all these characters that Carowinds has been slowly bringing into the framework, including Granny, including the mayor, including, all of these characters that are for each of the rides. I think we're just going to see a lot of that become a lot more present in the park. And I think it's going to be a big sort of overhaul. And it's just going to make the park refreshed and look like a brand new park.
Whatever this is, the biggest announcement, it's got to be bigger than Fury. I mean, so I agree when we think that there's going to be a whole new area of the park with a new restaurant, of course, the Mac multi-launch. A lot of people are saying that there's a possibility of it being an extreme Mac spinning coaster. but personally, I just don't see it. But yeah, restaurant, the coaster, maybe a flat or two. But with this, I mean, we can really see how Cedar Fair is really bringing back theming in such a big way, because this is one of the few coasters. Some of the, I mean, we're starting to see Cedar Fair just step up their theming, and this, with the whole process of this, and the storyline of the other coasters, that this really just shows how much thought they're putting into this, and whatever it is, and whatever else that comes and accompanies the Mac multi-launch, it'll be sure to be a fantastic addition for the Carowinds folk.
Awesome. And what about you, Kobus? Anything to add?
Nope.
Also, adding on really quickly, don't forget that they're adding in a hotel in 2019.
So that's an interesting topic of discussion. Sorry, I just totally inserted myself there. But are the hotels included in these announcements? Because as we know, Cedar Fair says that hotels are not part of the investments. So when they have their two separate investments that Cedar Fair do, they have their in-park investments and out-of-park investments. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because it very well could be that, but based off of Cedar Fair's terminology, these aren't included in investment. It would be weird to see Canada's Wonderland announce a hotel 2 years in advance.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic of discussion, though, Easton, because you could be very well right. It could just be including the hotel.
They could mention that they're getting a hotel, but not give out all the details, and then the following year when it's supposed to open or whatever, if it's not opening next year and the year after, they could give the rest of the details. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Anything else to add on to Carowinds?
Great year for Carowinds.
Kings Island 5 is alive, triggered. So Kings Island's definitely not getting anything big in 2019. We don't see any teasers. We see teasers for 2020. I'm sour about it. But my prediction is Kings Island's probably going to get a flat ride, maybe a family flat ride on top of that, and we're going to actually start to see prep for 2020. Now, a lot of you, when you saw the video, Son of Beast being redone, blah, 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 you're assuming that I was saying that they're going to rebuild Son of Beast. In no form do I think they're going to rebuild Son of Beast. What I'm trying to get at is the lore of Son of Beast is probably going to come back, and I think that's going to be kind of like the theme of the new coaster that they build. So if I had to make a prediction for 2020 in this video, I'm saying either an RMC or a Giga. And in fact, if it's an RMC, I think CoasterNet is the closest to the right answer in terms of what kind of RMC they would go and get. So if you want to check that out, definitely go check out CoasterNet's video on the Son of Beast revival, if you want to call it that. Because I think they hit the nail on the dot if it's an RMC. But I think we're going to see something different and bigger, and it's going to be something to do with Son of the Beast and the storyline, not they're going to build an RMC Son of Beast. But what do you guys think about Kings Island? This is a tough one.
Just before we start this, thank you to Coaster Camp. Coaster Camp says Kings Island Giga 2019.
Oh, boy.
But concerning 2019, yeah, probably a flat ride or maybe towards the families and maybe a new restaurant or something like that. This year they added in a new restaurant, so they might do the same thing. This next year, just something small just to get ready for 2020. Yeah.
I definitely think that it's going to be a slight of an off year for them, but at the same time, them receiving a new ride, I believe it will be a flat. Could we see it being a thrilling flat? I don't know. A lot of people have speculated that it's going to be antique cars. That's a very popular rumor, and that was actually the rumor for last year. I do agree with prep for 2020. And I actually also believe this isn't I think that this is personally an unpopular opinion, but I can see Kings Island getting a Skywarp. Feel free to fight me. No, I'm just kidding. but I feel like we can definitely be seeing a Skywarp. It's up to you guys if you guys want to call it a coaster or not. But I'm kind of like mixed between them. But it could be a Skywarp. That's something new, something innovative, and I think that it'll be very thrilling for everybody. So,
I'm triggered. Okay. Anyone else have anything to add on top of that?
So what Eastern just brought up, the Kings Island Giga 2019 thing, to that I say Kings Island Giga 2020. I think this year is going to be an year with a smaller edition.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Kings
I would
Island's
agree
getting
with that too.
Sorry, what'd you say, Jasmine? I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was just saying I agree with that too. I think it's possible to see a Giga coming, but I don't think it's going to be next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
everyone wants to fight me now because I said a Skywarp.
I don't think Cedar Fair is investing in the Skywarps. Not yet.
We don't know yet. I mean,
Themselves.
All right, let's move on. Anyone else have anything else to add on to a spoiled park in a good way? Don't.
Kings Island, no Giga 2019.
They're definitely getting something big coming soon.
For the 2019 season.
Mm-hmm. And Vince, I did just get your message on Instagram. I can't read it yet, but I'll definitely read it as soon as the stream's over. Thanks for messaging me. Canada's Wonderland.
oh my God, Eastern.
So out of nowhere, I just want to talk about this for a second because not only are we not getting a media event, so they're not having a media event, they dropped this news pretty much 2 days before the announcement. Our biggest announcement in history. And for those of you that know, if you want to deny it or not, or if you don't believe me or not, that's totally fine. I actually totally understand why people would think the blueprints are fake, blah, blah, blah. But we've known some stuff about 2019, and we weren't even expecting it to be the biggest announcement in history. This one's a little confusing because the hotel is not opening until mid or late 2020. So I can't see the hotel being announced unless they're going to announce it with this, regardless. But I still find it weird, that it's our biggest announcement in history and it was just dropped. No tweet, no nothing, no mention of it, just on their website, our biggest announcement in history. I found that I was like, could have been done a little better, but that's okay. So my prediction for 2019 at Canada's Wonderland, and this is a rendering designed by Dustin, one of our Patreons. So my prediction for height is 213 feet. It's going to drop into a 15-foot valley, and we know that from Google Earth. And then the tunnel depth is around 25 feet. The total total drop on this coaster should be around 255 feet. And for those of you that have followed us on this journey the longest, know that we've always been mentioning 255. That doesn't mean we've always been on board with 255, but 255 has definitely been a recurring number for Amusement Insiders and our predictions and all that. So it's interesting, and I can definitely stand behind that number firmly and say that I strongly think this coaster should be around 250, 255. The length, according to Planet Coaster and No Limits, brings us to anywhere between 3,800 feet and 4,300. I'm going to put myself at 4,000 feet to be safe. I think there's going to be 3 inversions, but 4 is kind of a stretch. That would be lucky. I don't think there's going to be a 4th inversion. So for those of you that watch the prediction layout, I actually think the 4th inversion after the MCBR is either a splashdown or an airtime hill, and not a corkscrew. But we'll see. The announcement's in 2 days, so we'll know soon. And I think coming with that will be Winterfest. We're going to see a gold pass. This is going to be a new themed area from the entrance of Timberwolf all the way over to the coaster. You're going to see a restaurant reno of Backlot Cafe. You might see a movement of another Mountainside Cafe. You're going to hopefully see a Vortex revamp. And by the way, these are listed in most likely to least likely. A Vortex revamp. And then there's been a lot of weird activity in Splashworks. And I think that if it's the biggest announcement, someone's mic is...
Oh, hey, that's...
and you may see a potential water park upgrade like we see every year. I mean, it's not out of the ordinary. Wonderland's been getting really large investments every year now. Last year, for a small year, it was still really large. You got the water park expansion, and it was a big one for the kids. And you got 2 flat rides. So who knows? Biggest announcement in history. I mean, we had Leviathan, Starlight Spectacular, and Dinosaurs Alive all added in the same year, so this has got to outdo that. What do you guys think? That was a lot of words.
So, I feel like part of their biggest announcement thing is going to be appealing to the three types of crowds. So those who like high thrills, the families, and those who like to splash around in the water park. So there's the big coaster that's coming. There's going to be some sort of family ride for sure, in my opinion, as well as a water park expansion. Either a slide tower or some new addition to the splash area that was just added. Something like that. In terms of a restaurant reno, I think they will do that, but possibly add in different food options around the ride area itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I completely agree with what you said, Brendan. I think you got like pretty spot on. Because with them adding in like all these new perks and Winterfest, I think that will all add up to the biggest announcement. And we can also like not only are we talking about the dive coaster, but we're also talking about the whole theme around the dive coaster, adding in to that biggest announcement, and that's like it just all adds up into their biggest announcement.
On it, I think they could easily lean on the fact that they will no longer be a single season park as the biggest announcement ever, because people have been long theorizing that, you know, Wonderland's going to build a dome over the park so they can be open year round, and like all of these silly things that may or may not have some truth behind it. But I think that just saying like, hey, we're going to be open, maybe not fully year round, but they can kind of harp on it that way. To be like the biggest announcement, because it's something the public has wanted for so long. And it is a pretty big deal that a park this far north is going to actually open its doors through the winter. So I think that alone could actually be used as the whole biggest announcement in history thing, because it's a very big first for them. But I totally agree. I think it would make sense to appeal to those three different markets, upgrade the splash park, add in something for families, and add in this new big thrilling coaster. But yeah, I think there could be some other stuff going on as well. Like I'm really, really hoping for a new front gate. We really need to see a revamp there. And they could use that as a way to retheme larger areas of the park. Like we could really retheme that front entrance that kind of is just generically themed right now and really make it part of that Canadiana theming that we're seeing. And I think that can spread into other parts of the park, and they can really give the park a single unified theme. And that would be a pretty big announcement as well.
Mm-hmm, for sure. It's definitely interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Winterfest, Gold Pass, basically everything you said. I'm actually really interested to see what they retheme Vortex to, because I think with the mine carts that they revamped the trains to earlier this season definitely was a sign that it was going to get a retheme, and I'm really interested to see what they're retheming. But overall, yeah, I think Brendan hit it on the dot, and I think Kobos also hit it on the dot with 3 markets and going with each of them. So I think overall, yeah, huge year, and I think everyone has said has been like absolutely correct.
Awesome. Anything else to discuss about Wonderland?
One more thing. Does anyone think Orbiter, the Enterprise at the park, will also be removed, like Witch's Wheel?
Well, it's an interesting topic of discussion because they just announced on their stockholders call that we're going to be seeing the removal of rides that are no longer popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of rides at Wonderland I could see on that hit list.
That doesn't generate lines. That should be an in itself.
It was half of CGA Plan Snoopy.
All right.
I can't make the LaRon meme. Anyways.
Blake, it does not, does it? 213 plus Skyrider's height equals 301. I'm not even touching on that. I'm moving on.
No comment.
The Giga theory is dead. Knott's Berry Farm. So this is an interesting park because it has slid into the expansion park territory. If you notice, I didn't list Canada's Wonderland as an expansion park despite them getting a hotel, because on stockholders' call, they actually don't list Wonderland as an expansion park. So yes, we are definitely receiving very expansion-like investments, but we're not listed as one. So I didn't want to call us one. Knott's Berry Farm next year, they just got hang time. So next year, I think they're going to get a revamp. So almost, if you notice, Knott's Berry Farm's been enhancing themselves, and it's working. I mean, they crossed over the 4 million attendance line, and even off of the stockholders call they just had, they're growing exponentially and quickly. So this is great. So I expect we're going to see a family expansion with that revamp or a water park. Some sort of smaller yet decent investment that involves revamping an area in the park. What do you guys think?
I think if the rumors are true that Knott's is getting something big in 2020, I think 2019 will be an off year, like a new show or, just general park improvements. And even minus the 2020, they did just get hang time, which is a new roller coaster. So I definitely think it'll be a small year, but, maybe adding in like a family ride or new show or something like that. That's what I think.
Can I just point out that Jasmine stole my Giga fans? I love it. Jasmine's now the queen of Giga.
I am not letting this theory go. I think there's still hope. I might be the only one, but it's fine.
Can we get you a crown?
Yeah.
I agree with
Yes,
you. I
please.
think that there's a bit of hope still for the Giga theory. I really think that there's still hope.
It would honestly be Wonderland's best kept secret because of how many times we've tried to expose it.
And it didn't work, right?
I mean, like...
Oh?
Oh.
Fluffy, something's wrong with your mic. It sounds like you're almost like sitting on it.
Oh.
I was not.
Oh, okay. It sounds like something's covering it, if that makes sense.
Oh, that was probably my hand because I was emphasizing
Okay.
with my hand.
Back on topic. Knott's Berry Farm. Anyone have any different suggestions or beliefs?
Flat ride maximum personally, but I think they're just gonna focus on general improvements and get maybe a new festival or event.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. I would personally like to see a retheme of Voyage to Iron Reef because it's obviously going to be a smaller year for Knott's, not a gigantic new edition. So I think it would make sense to retheme an edition that's existing. And that's just my own personal want because I don't love the amusement dark editions that have happened to some of these parks. I think that they were done pretty quickly and they kind of feel cheap in comparison to other parks, dark rides, and, look at Universal, look at Disney, and that's what they wanted to compete with this whole Amusement Dark initiative, and I feel like they aren't. So I think it would be smart of them to retheme those and to do it in a more immersive way, maybe with some animatronics like that. An animatronic dark ride would be really fitting for Knott's, and I would like to see them make that investment. But again, that's not what I think is going to happen. That's just what I want to happen.
Anything else?
I feel like if there's a revamp coming in, they can probably do something to either the Calico Mine Ride or the Timber Mountain Log Ride.
They just did the Timber Mountain Log Ride, big
Cal-
time.
Oh, also they need to revamp that towards the back next to Voyage to the Iron Reef and the Charles Schultz Theater. So because there's a supposed secondary entrance. And I have never seen that be of use or anything. It's literally just a train track going straight through and then curving, and then there's just a gate there, and it doesn't really look too good. And so I really think that they should revamp that whole area.
Mm-hmm. Anything else for Knott's? Moving on.
Yep.
Moving on.
California's Great America. Fluffy, no ranting.
Okay.
So for California's Great America, they're an expansion park for sure. And I think they're going to be getting not just a water park expansion, but a massive water park expansion with the potential for a flat ride. And I say that, and a lot of you are like, no, but they're getting a massive water park expansion. Again, look back at Canada's Wonderland. If a park like them can get a bunch of attractions in 1 year, so can California's Great America, especially since it's on a 5-year development plan, if I recall. And we still have quite a bit of attractions from that 5-year plan to add. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a massive water park expansion and a potential flat ride. And I also wouldn't be surprised if it just ended up being a massive water park expansion. But what do you guys think?
It's a 20-year plan from what I can remember.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
I was reading something online about approval for a 230 to 240 foot attraction. So I think you're right that there's something else coming as well.
No comment.
Well,
avoiding the rant.
For 2019 for CGA, I'm gonna predict this being like another off year. I mean, minus the water park expansion, but besides that, I think it'll be the water park expansion and maybe a flat ride. I mean, I don't know. Depending on how large the water park expansion is, maybe that'll be the only thing. But all I'm gonna say is our 2020 probably will be the year for CGA. You know.
Also, new for 2019, a pre-K pass. They announced that on Friday. So, come on and bring your kids.
I agree about the water park expansion. I think that's needed, and I think it'll draw in an extra crowd that, is kind of just hemming and hawing over the water park right now. I think maybe we could see like a hotel or resort as well. But like Brendan said, they've kind of been keeping that on a separate budget, so I don't know if that would count or not.
From what I can tell you, I don't believe there's any way that we're actually going to be getting a hotel. We would have at least started seeing land clearing.
Fair enough. I think it's just a trend that we're seeing across the board with Cedar Fair. They're realizing, like, for years and years and years at Wonderland, they said, no, we don't need that. No, there's nearby hotels that they partnered with, and now all of a sudden it's happening. So if it is ever going to happen, I think it would be in the near future.
Definitely, yeah.
Anything else to add on to CGA?
Oh, I can go on for... I can go on a rant, but I'm going to save you guys the time.
On that note, Valley Fair. I'm kidding. All right. So Valley Fair, this is an interesting park. No one's talking about it, but on the stockholders call, they were listed as an expansion park. Now, they're not listed as a current expansion park. They are listed as a future expansion park, and this is great news for anyone's home park that is Valley Fair. From what I've been hearing, the season pass sales are up significantly. The park is seeing a growth. They're seeing growth, and they want to invest in it because whenever you see growth, you need to match it. So I think we're going to see a small flat or just a small family ride added next year, and I think bigger things are on their way. You got to give it 2 to 3 years for them to be able to plan these things out and do them. So just be patient. I think bigger things are on the way, but for now, still small attractions for the next 1 to 2 years. What do you guys think?
I can
Sorry, go ahead, Eastern. You go.
I was just gonna say, like maybe a family ride, like 3 family rides, and yeah, something around the lines of that, maybe.
I agree. I think next year we're probably going to see one small addition, maybe some sprucing up of the park. But I think in the future we're going to see a pretty large water park expansion.
Definitely.
I think we are gonna. I think we are gonna see. I think we are gonna see a small flat ride. But can we just note that it says new family thrill ride now open? It doesn't even say the name of the ride.
Well, it says it right here.
Yeah, but the text is covering it along with all of our icons, so you know.
Anyone else have anything to add on to Valley Fair?
I agree with the water park thing.
The water park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just up till now, I actually forgot that they had a water park.
Hence the need for the expansion.
Oh.
All right, so we're out of our expansion parks now, and we're moving into kind of the medium-sized parks and smaller parks. Valley Fair was only ahead of Kings Dominion. Trust me, Kings Dominion is a way better park than Canada's Wonderland. Please don't get triggered if you're a fan of Kings Dominion. It is only back here, because they're not getting anything big in the next 1 to 2 years. That's the only reason I have it back here. So my prediction for 2019 is just a flat ride or small family expansion to Candy Apple Grove, maybe continue it a little bit, and continue to invest in Winterfest. What do you guys think?
I would say Nothing big for the area. I'd say maybe family ride or something like that. So since they did just get Twisted Timbers and they're announcing Winterfest in 2018, and I can see them also expanding Candy Apple Grove as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to replace their tornado slide that they just had to tear down with something.
You think they could purchase something that quickly?
Possibly. If not this year, they're just going to let it sit and do it next year.
Yeah. Remember, we saw Wonderland remove those body slides, and they set that land set vacant for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Their Dinosaurs Alive is getting removed, correct? So I think we could potentially see some prep for what's going to happen to that space and or other spaces in the future. But I totally agree. I think it's going to be a smaller year. Seeing this has me super excited for Winterfest because I think that's going to be a really awesome event. So I think that may be the focus for this upcoming off season, and next year we'll see smaller additions in preparation for larger things to come.
All right. So we have a correction. So it looks like there is land clearing going on at King's Dominion. I can't confirm this, but it looks like they're maybe getting a mat racer slide like at Canada's Wonderland added. I'm being told I should do my research. I'm being lectured by a King's Dominion fanboy. It's okay.
Yeah, how dare you not keep track of every single Cedar Fair park?
Yeah, I think they're going to get a water park expansion.
Well,
yeah.
So.
And I mean, maybe a refurbishment on Volcano. Maybe they'll
after a counter previous season and to see it open and running well again, then yeah.
All right. Moving on.
Yep.
Worlds of Fun. So this is where it gets interesting. We only have 2 coasters we know of or even have signs of at Cedar Fair. And I think if there's going to be a third one, it's definitely going to Worlds of Fun. So my prediction is, and this is a really out there prediction, so feel free to comment down below. My prediction is either it's going to be a small family coaster, or it's going to be a flat ride. It's evidently not going to be anything high thrill, large scale. We would have already seen something. I mean, at most, maybe we can see an RMC Raptor, but I have a feeling Cedar Fair may have turned down the dial on those if they did have them ordered. Maybe they delayed them by a bit to make sure they're working, or all the kinks are knocked out. But I definitely think a small coaster, at most, RMC Raptor or a flat ride. What do you guys think?
Brendan, I wish you could see my notes right now because I literally have Worlds of Fun. I have one note underneath that says small coaster or large flat.
Oh my. Great minds think alike.
True.
So someone someone on Discord said that they are like 99% confirmed to get a food court expansion, and then they are either going to be getting Zamperla Hawk or some other thrilling flat ride, but I can see what you mean as in like a small family coaster. But I personally, I could either see a Super Loop or a Zamperla Hawk for their flat ride. Something that doesn't really take up too much space. Otherwise, we would have seen some sort of clearing going on by now. But yeah, just something like small like that, and some more general improvements as well. But Worlds of Fun, people who go to there, just remember, I think your guys' time is coming. I think you guys will definitely be getting a coaster within the next 3 years. And you guys can quote me on that, and yeah.
I actually agree with you, Fluffy. If it's not next year, it's coming soon.
Yeah.
And now that you said Zamperla Hawk, that's kind of growing on me for this part.
Anything else? A lot of you have muffled mics today. I feel like Jasmine and I are like...
Really?
Yeah, we're like the rulers of mics today.
Hey, it's Google Hangout, man. That's why.
No, this is like a you problem, I can tell. Right, Jasmine?
Wow.
No comment.
All right, moving on.
Yep.
Dorney Park.
Hmm.
To be honest, this was a hard one because Dorney Park, as sad as it is to say, it almost fell off the radar for me this year in terms of predicting. I really don't know. This is one of those parks where I'm literally just gonna throw a flat ride or family attraction at them for my prediction. Hopefully, maybe one of you has some more exciting news for that park right now. Anyone?
I think they could possibly do a water park expansion because it's Dorney Park in Wild Water Kingdom, and they are very famous for their water park. So if they wanted to draw in more crowds by not only adding in a family ride, I think they also could possibly add in a water park expansion. But since their water park is so huge, and I think that they could do expanding in there and make it better. But yeah.
Do we remember all those Dorney Park GCI blueprints?
Oh my god, let's not.
Earlier in the year?
Yeah.
I don't think these were real.
Oh, it's already been confirmed they're not.
Oh, okay. Never mind. But as we know, they don't like to. They always don't add in new things every single year. So I don't think that. I think this is one of the parks that unfortunately will not be getting anything. But maybe in the future. I mean, maybe next year they can get a nice big thrill ride. Or heck, who knows? Maybe even they can get a raptor.
I want to be the devil's advocate here for Dorney Park. I'm gonna stand up for you, Dorney. So they did say when they announced the removal of Stinger that it was specifically to make way for future development. So I put in my notes here that a new coaster would be nice. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out there that it's totally possible. I don't think it'll be something gigantic, maybe not even something custom. It might be moved from somewhere else. It might be a clone of something. But I think they're making an effort, and they wouldn't be saying that if they didn't have plans to do it. And Cedar Fair usually makes good on their plans. Even if the timelines have to shift a bit, they're not known to make an announcement saying, oh, we're going to have future development and then do nothing. So we may see, like you guys said, maybe something smaller for 2019 and bigger in 2020, 2021. But I'm going to go ahead and put it out there that it is possible that they've planned something for 2019.
Mm-hmm.
God, they're getting Wicked Twister. They can have two intimate impulses.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Michigan's Adventure. Now, no jokes.
Nobody
promised to make this
bench.
serious. So I actually have. So Dorney Park may be included in this as well, but with the announcement of the big parks, since they have so many attractions, I mean, you look at Canada's Wonderland, they have way too many attractions to run, and you have a lot of older attractions. It's just really costly for a park like Wonderland to have that many attractions, and all the other parks too. But Wonderland has way too many attractions, and they need to give some up, especially those that have zero lines a lot of the time during the day. And you have parks that are dying for attractions, like Michigan's Adventure, Dorney Park. So I think we are probably going to see in the next 1 or even 0 to 5 years, rides being shuffled around a bit almost. Rides that aren't necessarily popular at Canada's Wonderland or other bigger parks being moved to the smaller parks that need those investments for hardly any cost. And I think that would actually benefit these smaller parks. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're going to see one of our flat rides or another flat ride from another park. Maybe they'll see one of those smaller end coasters that are small for the big parks, but wonderful for a park like this. Imagine Michigan's Adventure getting Time Warp. I'm going to get punched now by the Michigan's Adventure fans. But imagine that. It would do wonders there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
I think in 2019 they'll get their general park improvements, and possibly, this is a weird thought, so take it as you will, but I think they could possibly get Which is Wheel. From what I've heard, it doesn't have too many issues, and it's just like a low attendance ride. When I've heard, I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're removing it because it has low ridership, so I could definitely see them possibly moving it to Michigan's Adventure and making it their new ride of 2019, possibly.
So Eastern, I had the exact same idea.
Oh, interesting.
I had the exact same idea, but currently, right now, what I'm doing is I am seeing if they have an enterprise, and it looks like they don't.
They have a mini enterprise, like a kiddie one.
It looks like they have like no rides.
It's harsh.
I'm literally on
I
their
said no
webpage.
shade.
Okay, so from a business perspective, this park is at the point where it has to do something. If they were looking to sell this park, they would still have to put some effort into it into the next couple of seasons in order to attract a buyer. Because as it is, they haven't received a coaster since what, 2008? And they haven't received any kind of like thrill ride since the early 2000s. You can't count bumper boats as a thrill ride, which I guess would have been their most recent attraction. So something has to be done, whether it's just a matter of keeping this business afloat and making their earnings worth it to actually open the park every year, or even if they are looking to sell this park, they've got to do something. They have to put some kind of investment. So I agree with you guys that maybe it's going to be an adopted ride from another park or two, but they're definitely at the point where something's got to be done in 2019.
I agree.
I also think that they could possibly get a couple new restaurants, or maybe just one new restaurant. Same with Knott's, maybe they get a new festival or activity filled events. Sort of like how CGA does Taste of Orleans, and how Knott's does the Boysenberry Fest or whatever it's called. So I can also see that going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
For
really
sure.
like that idea. That's a cost-effective way to revive the park.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that's why CGA is also doing a little bit well, is because of these events, and they are very, very popular.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say if Cedar Fair kept Knott's Boomerang, this is where it's gonna go.
Yeah,
Be it this year or next year, this is where it would be. They'd probably send it back to Holland to get it refurbished, and then it would come right back here.
Oof. I
Do
don't know
we
if they would do that.
do we think that if worst comes to worst, that they could sell the park?
Worst comes to worst, I don't know.
But so
Now,
I'm gonna correct a lot of enthusiasts here. Michigan's Adventure isn't doing poorly. Michigan's Adventure is just one of those parks that sits in between Kings Island, Cedar Point, and Canada's Wonderland. So it's a park that doesn't need investments like you see at those other parks, because it would actually draw away from. So, I mean, if you go through Wonderland's parking lot any given weekend or day in the summer, the amount of Michigan license plates that are in there, and you go to Cedar Point, the amount of Michigan license plates that are there, and you go to Kings Island, the same thing. That's the reason Michigan's Adventure isn't getting investments. It's not doing poorly by any means. I mean, it's not up there with any of the other parks, but every park is definitely making money. And as long as a park's making money, they're going to keep it, because they're putting that money into other parks. So I don't think Michigan's Adventure is going to get sold. I could be wrong, but until I hear on the stockholders call where they're like, yeah, Michigan's Adventure is holding us down, or, you know, they're lining our, like, you know what I mean? But I think they're just lining the pockets right now of Cedar Fair, and they're using it as that kind of park.
I think you could be right. It's just weird for a company like Cedar Fair to have a park that they choose not to invest in, because they're always looking for growth, and that's the one park that they've kind of left stagnant for a while.
Yeah.
When's the next stockholder call? Do you know?
We just had one, so it's about 2.5 months, 3 months away. 2.5 probably.
All right, so around October-ish. Around my birthday.
But I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Do any of you have anything else to add on this? Anything we missed?
Oh, maybe a
Oh, no.
maybe a water park slide for Michigan's Adventure.
But we are going to do one of these for Six Flags as well. We'll probably do that next week or the week after, obviously before they announce. We just wanted to get this out here because announcements start in 2 days for Wonderland. But yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
See you.
Oh my gosh.